Hello, this is Rumor. I am here to do my very first VR in my channel, and I'm quite excited about it. There are several VRs that I want to do. This is just the latest and greatest that I saw, and I was really eager to try this spread straight away. So I'm just diving right in. In any case, this is the Queen's spread, originally posted by Meg at Rose Honey Ritual. And I first became acquainted with this through Candy at Candy Soul and Soil. And Candy herself added 2 extra layers to the reading per her personal intuitive pulls as to how to modify it in that moment. And I have decided to use the 2 original rows here as presented by Meg, and then I'm ripping off the 3rd row from Candy, which I'll explain when I get to it. But the idea of this spread is to go through the deck and using just the queens in a tarot deck, identifying where your energies are lying at the moment in terms of your most dominant energy, your next most comfortable energy, one that is giving you a challenge at the moment, and which one seems to be missing. So for the top row, Meg and Candy went through and selected for themselves from a deck the queens that they felt answered those questions as far as they're consciously aware. And so I've done the same here with the Revival Art Tarot. This is the first edition of it that has these backs. So I gave it some thought, and I feel like my queens fell into place fairly quickly for me going through, just in light of where I feel I'm currently at. And I have chosen as my most dominant energy at the moment the Queen of Coins. I went back and forth between coins and cups here because I am a water sign, so I initially thought that that's what I would slap down as my dominant energy, but I know that I am very much of the water and the earth, and right now especially my earthly inclinations are tugging at me. I just got back yesterday from traveling. I am going to be traveling again next week, and I enjoy travel, especially when it includes a visit home to my folks in the States, because I'm originally from Chicago, but I live in London at present. So my life has involved a lot of travel. I am so close with my family, and it's an imperative that I get back there a few times a year. COVID obviously being a disruption to that, but now that that has opened up again, I have been resuming my frequent trips there, especially since a very dearly loved one has been battling health issues for several years now. So it's just a non-negotiable for me that I have to split my life between locations. And I just find myself, though, because I have this very grounded, rooted energy in terms of a great need for stability and a need for having roots and just kind of staying put. I like to be static. I've always said that I could sit and watch paint dry for hours. I do have a very active mind that can be overactive, that can make me restless and wanting to, jump from one thing to another wherever something's shiny. I definitely have that quality, but for the most part, I can sit very still. And probably because my internal world is so active, I'm good without having to go anywhere because I am exploring familiar and uncharted terrain constantly in my inner world. And so I am very sedentary. I like to stay still. I am just trying to be really cautious in how I'm approaching the year because there's just a lot that's just already getting proposed and booked up all the way through the end of this year already. And there is just a major unknown that is the most preoccupying for me at the moment. And because of that, and because I feel like I need to be poised and resilient, to be ready at a moment's notice, to be where I need to be for that possibility, It just that much more makes me feel like when I have this chance to be home in my home, I just need to surround myself in that and embed myself in it and just really dig my heels into the soil. And so that's where I'm finding myself right now. I have this opportunity after coming back from one trip. As I'm facing the next one, I have so much to do in this time, and I just need to do it in one place. And so I get very control freaky with my time and my physical location sometimes. And it just gets me very overwhelmed, which, moving on to the next most comfortable energy, why I was torn and thought possibly cups is where I'm at as well, is because when I get in this state of overwhelm, I get very emotional about it, whether it's, it can be feeling sad and tears, but also, anger. I get snappy. I get so stroppy sometimes if I feel like I'm just tired. I need to draw boundaries. I need to establish for myself where I need to be right now and what I need right now so that I can, again, be where I need to be there for those I need to be there for, to the best of my ability. So if I'm feeling depleted, I really dig into this earthy energy. My next most comfortable energy, though, and I'm saying comfortable in terms of, the realm of the emotions, that's my wheelhouse. I'm very, I feel like I'm a very intuitive being, and I'm very empathetic. I am very much in the flow of my own feelings and tapping into those of others and trying to reach out where I am needed and being there. And I'm certainly in a situation right now where I've got to do emotional maintenance for others as well as myself, and so I'm trying to summon my strength with that and do it to the best of my ability. And at the same time, I'm a bit caught up in my own emotions because of things that are going on back home in the States with family who I will be with soon, thank goodness. But it kind of puts me in a place where I might tear up at the drop of a hat, get a little choked up. And so I have just been finding myself in this place. I guess I wouldn't describe that as comfortable, but it's certainly something I'm used to. And I don't know, maybe I feel like more innately equipped to sit in that space and try to feel my way through it so I can come out on the other side. So maybe in that respect, that's why it's the most comfortable to me. It definitely comes to me the most naturally. So Queen of Swords, I have chosen for where I feel that's the energy that's challenging me the most right now, because I get very in my head. As I mentioned before, I have this very, very rich interior life. But the problem with that is that I can just get too much going on up there. And I know that the queens have like mastery over their element. And so I suppose I'm speaking to some of these in shadow out of necessity as it relates to me. Because Queen of Swords, again, that kind of, stroppiness, I can have a forked tongue, folks, if I am feeling, I never do it on the offensive. Any of my nastiness comes out in self-defense. And so if I feel provoked and my tail is up, then kitten has claws if she feels she needs to defend her territory. But otherwise, I hate conflict. I don't seek it out. I'm not going to go out and be a jerk and tear people down. I'm struggling to have clarity in thought and direction, and I feel like my communication can suffer as a result of that. And I think this also gets very tied up in my emotion, because whereas the earth energy, if I am not feeling grounded, if I am not feeling stable and safe and secure, that heightens my anxieties. And if I am anxious, it's very much the fears in my mind, a lot of self-created anxiety and things that I'm worrying about that I either can't do anything about, or I just need to calm down and think about what I can do about it and empower myself with that instead of sitting in the fear with it. And so all of that just can result in a tumult of emotion. for me. And so I feel like in trying to, stay in balance with where I'm at emotionally right now, I have been trying to temper my perspectives and just trying to stay realistic and sound and rational with the here and now and what is in my pragmatic power to do and what is not. And I think that that leads into the Queen of Wands and why I chose her for the energy that I feel is missing or lacking right now. First of all, I'm just really tired after a week of travel. And I'm in my little earthy cocoon trying to ramp up my energy and resources again for heading out again next week for a while. And because I have this very sedentary energy, it does hold me back from just like taking action. And I don't feel I'm very proactive in general, and certainly not at the moment. And there's a lot that I need to do. And I want to be a more active role too in the way that I'm supporting people, emotionally, people who are also going through the situation that I am right now that's kind of got us all on edge. And those that it's more immediate for, and it's impacting their day-to-day far more significantly. Like I need to think more of what I can actually do to be of service and how I can like take initiative. And when I struggle with finding the clarity and direction, it's very tough for me then to know how to like pick up my wand and charge at the issue at hand. And so that's sort of where I'm feeling now. I am just feeling very like watered and weighed down, and it's put out my pilot light a bit, and I just need to get some of that fire back. And if I can contain this whirlwind that goes on in my mind a bit better and more effectively target the air to that flame to help ignite that a bit more, then I believe it would behoove me. So in any case, these are the ones that I have chosen consciously for myself where I think I am at right now. But following Meg and Candy's leads, I have chosen from the Relative Tarot the Queens, and I did just shuffle them and laid them out in the order that they came up. So this was no conscious selection. This is what the cards are telling me my energies are at the moment. So it's interesting. I have no one-to-one matches, but what I do see here are, at least as far as the pairs, so the prevailing energies where I'm feeling most comfortable right now between, earth and water, those are both present here as well. And then the ones that I'm having a challenge with, or that's just missing, the same two are showing on that side. They're just in the reverse. So this is really interesting. So it makes me feel like, okay, I at least got this somewhat right for myself. My dominant energy being Queen of Cups, I can completely accept that, since that was one that I was considering too. I was debating between those two. I think where my heart is and where my gut tugs me these days, I do understand how that's a prevailing factor in my life. I have other priorities and responsibilities, but there are just certain things that I am right now just ready at a moment's notice to drop everything for. And so that's very much in, cups, turf. So my next most comfortable energy being the Queen of Pentacles, again, that does make sense to me, because I think that this element is what I am turning to for comfort right now. I am seeking the cocoon to kind of snuggle me and just soothe me for the time being, so I can be braced for the next thing that comes up. I'm just very much feeling like, because I'm about to be uprooted again, living out of a suitcase under someone else's roof for a few weeks, I am feeling this pull to be like in my own home and just tending to my husband and me and our life here, the domestic life that we live that does get disrupted by my continual back and forth. So I've got to be honest, as heartbreaking as it was in 2020 to not be able to go home and see family. I mean, that was awful, especially with, the health concerns that are going on. But by the end of the year and even going well into 2021, until I started traveling again, I really came to understand how much I needed that. It really helped my husband and I get into our flow much better than we've ever been able to ever since we relocated to the UK. Long story short, yes. Because I can get swept up in the realm of emotion, I seek that stability and just that rootedness very, very much. But now going to the energy that's most challenging to me, yeah, absolutely, I would agree. Finding that inner fire and drive to just actually do, because I'm just kind of retreating into this sense of stasis right now, and I really don't have very long to do that. And so. Sure, of course, that's something I'm struggling with. That's why I thought it was something that I was lacking. And so I guess it's appropriate here, if it's not completely missing, in that as I said, I have so much that I need to do right now. I am getting it done. It's just, it is that much more of a challenge because I've got these other things very much preoccupying my mind and heart. And so Queen of Swords being what's lacking, again, I see I am missing this ability to just kind of cut through the anxieties and the confusion, the fog that's kind of misting up above my watery place, and just getting down to brass tacks and just finding that clarity and the focus that I need to get the things done right now that I need to get done. Finding that sense of focus has been difficult, and I'm seeking that ability to be very just much more impartial, objective in how I'm approaching things too, to make sure that I don't make everything all about me at a time. It can't be. So going to the last row here, borrowing or just outright stealing the idea from Candy, a Candy Soul and Soil, I have shuffled and drawn from the Somnia Tarot, from the full court. So not just the queens here. I really like that she wanted to bring in some page, knight, king energy as well, if it applies to the situation. And this is a deck that I recently got, and I've been very eager to work with it. I find the depictions of the court cards so striking, very Rider-Waite-Smith, but with such a watery, shadowy vibe that I find it really compelling. It just feels like it occupies a very liminal space, and I feel in that space right now. I feel in the in-between. I feel like I'm on the precipice of big change that I don't have control over. And that's what all of this has been about. Just trying to get my footing and get my myself, strengthened and prepared for what could very well come in the coming months. And so let's see. Without further ado. Page of Swords. All right, so we've got our first non-queen of the spread here. Looking at this particular image, I get this sense of me physically standing here where I live, but my mind being on what is happening over there. As if I'm here, I'm planted in the UK, but I'm looking across the sea to my family, and that's what's preoccupying my thoughts. So yes, in that sense, it's very much a prevailing energy as I continually negotiate with being somewhere in mind or body, but not necessarily both at the same time, same place. And so that's always an interesting dynamic. It's so interesting to me that where I would never have picked the air element to be my dominant or most comfortable energy, but I guess in everything I've been saying, I keep going back to the whirlwind of my thoughts and how much that affects my emotions too, my anxieties about the future. I mean, I'm anticipating something that might not even happen this year, and it could be many months ahead if it does. I'm already getting myself caught in that future think, and I'm just getting myself preoccupied, and it's causing myself to get scared and feeling sense of loss and loss of hope already, and I don't need to be doing this yet. And so I feel like it feels appropriate to me that my most dominant energy then would be in this realm. And as the youngest of the court cards, I feel like I'm probably coming at it from, yes, a very underdeveloped place, because I'm still finding that direction. But there's potential with the pages, right? If I want to be the queen, I gotta start somewhere. And this being a page also makes me think of not just where I'm at developmentally with this suit, but as someone's child. Even though I am now middle-aged, I still always feel like I am someone's little girl. And as that child in this moment, I very much feel in that role where you're still looking to the older generation for guidance, but when the issue at hand is impacting them and they're just as uncertain, it makes me feel even more that vulnerability of my inner child. But I very much need to step up as an adult in this situation, while still tending to that vulnerable child within. So this gives me food for thought, where a lot, I think, of my need for grounding and emotional balance lies in getting my mindset adjusted. So this is telling me that my head's very much at the helm of a lot of this. So for my next most comfortable energy, Queen of Swords. This is so funny to me. I don't feel comfortable being in my headspace right now because it just gets very scattered. And oops, my battery just died. So I am back. I was just in the middle of talking about the Queen of Swords, and all my surprise that she shows up here as my most comfortable energy, because I don't feel comfortable in this, but then at the same time, I feel like this row is really going to challenge my way of looking at these things, and I need to not look at it as in it's negating any of the above, but working in tandem with it. I think there's certainly a way it's posing me the challenge, and it's what's absent, but at the same time, looking at it from another angle. Ever since COVID, I think this has been my comfort space, because no doubt for all of us, COVID had an impact on us psychologically in some way or another. And the prevailing thing for me was just feeling like I was stuck on this island and I couldn't get to my loved ones. So as a coping mechanism, I wasn't doing it on purpose, but I over time gradually became aware of it, that I was sort of desensitizing myself, that I was compartmentalizing my thoughts. I was not letting myself think about the fact that there was a whole big ocean between me and family. Anytime I kind of caught myself going there, just, I don't know, for better or worse, just went into kind of a la da 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 da, covering my ears, closing my eyes kind of mindset where it's like on to the next thing, focusing on the present and just being a lot more like mindful in the now and where I was, instead of like always thinking ahead. And because there weren't really any plans that I could make to go anywhere in the future, it was probably the most mindful year I've ever had, of just like sitting in that moment and taking it day to day. I kind of entered this almost like numbed place, which I'm not saying was a healthy thing. I'm just saying, like, I think it was just an instinctive mechanism that kicked in for me. And I all of a sudden was seeing things like a lot less emotionally and more objectively, and weighing the pros and cons, and seeing how there were certain things that were working out for the better for one reason or another. It did just sort of give me clarity on what I was needing. And all this is to say, I keep talking about this in terms of 2020, but I think that I have carried this with me. So as much as I'm dipping in and out of kind of teary moments and just kind of teetering, yes, as of the last few days, that is the case. But I do feel like I'm carrying forward a lesson of COVID, where I kind of go into this other zone where I'm more trying to be more present with what's before me, and quelling the emotion a bit by just not even allowing myself to go there. And so I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but it's a new coping mechanism I apparently picked up in the last couple of years. And so for this to show up in my most comfortable place, I'm thinking maybe it's speaking to that. Circumstances in the world have sort of forced me to look at things from a more pragmatic manner, just with like logistically the way that I can move around the world, and just having that insight into what needs my attention here where I live. I feel like I'm more actively working on finding better balance between how to maintain that sense of duty to here with my sense of duty to there. And so maybe in that respect, it's like, this is where I find my comfort, when I can just see that clearly, and I can just sort of like, okay, this is going to work for now. And I'm willing to give this time to this. And then at this time, I've got to focus on this, and just trying to detach myself a bit more. So yeah, I don't know. I'm really babbling through this. Sorry, like I think because I had the swords as my, challenge and missing element. So it's sure not helping me organize my thoughts or communicate them in the moment. So apologies for that. And actually, before I go further with this, I neglected to even notice before that we've got two Queens of Swords dressed in mourning here. And that's kind of at the crux of what I'm concerned about. I'm fearing the possibility I might lose someone I love. And in a sense, I'm already in mourning because of what this person has been having to battle through. There was a time life could kind of resume as normal, for several years, but now it's at a point where it's been a challenge for me lately to basically already be grappling with the grief over something that's already been lost. Even though this person is still with us, there is a loss in terms of the way this person can move through the world and that I can interact with them. And it just hurts. And so I can't believe I didn't. Maybe it was this Queen of Swords, part of my blocking mechanism, that I was just going into I'm not paying attention to what people are wearing. I'm not going to acknowledge that mourning garb. But I just was kind of looking back over the spread as a whole and saw that, and it just really hit me. And interestingly, that is for the Queen of Swords to be depicting a woman in mourning for an element representing the mind. It just shows how much emotion does still play into that, and sort of what you coming out the other side of that, and what you learn going forward, and coming out of the haze of that into sharper focus and just doing what needs to get done. So as far as the energy causing me the most challenge, it's another queen. So even though I shuffled the pages and the knights and kings in with this, getting more queen energy here, and Queen of Wands totally syncs with the relative tarot. So yeah, I am finding the challenge of, I'm perceiving it as being more proactive. And I think also just like finding the spark from within, because I think if I am trying to like deaden myself to an extent just to feel like, you know, I can cope for the next thing that happens, like I don't want to be quashing my spark either. And I feel like there's a lot I'm shelving for out of a sense of responsibility to others, and I'm not nurturing my own passions as much within that. And so I think that I am struggling to like maintain my own inner fire and get out there and create and be more of a present force in the world rather than retreating to my comfort cocoon. Like, I just think that there's a lot more constructive activity that I could push myself to engage in more. And so then for the element that's I've lost, Here I had where I thought that's my most comfortable energy, and the cards told me, or at least the relative tarot told me, that Queen of Cups was my dominant energy, and now the Somnia is telling me this is something I have lost. And you know, when I compare these two queens, I'm seeing this one has her cup and there's a lid on it. You know, she's got those emotions well contained. She has good control over them, whereas this one's just pouring them out. So it's giving me pause. I think of late I've been pouring them out more, whereas I was up until recently kind of trying to keep things bottled a bit more, or just keeping myself distracted, so I just wasn't even thinking about it to begin with. So I don't know if this is encouraging me with that release. I mean, it's important, it's necessary. It's not good to bottle things up by any means. But it also isn't good to just keep wallowing in it too. Like, this queen is just striking me as really despondent. And I just think, I don't know, you know, she just doesn't look to me like someone who is in control. She does look a bit deadened and numb, the way she's sitting there. And I feel like she's not going to get up out of her chair anytime soon. She'll probably just let that bucket drop to the ground and then, I don't know, zone out. And I don't think that's a great place to be either, despite the coping mechanism that I was speaking to before. So I think maybe this is just encouraging me to, again, not be wallowing to the point where I get stuck, but also not trying to numb myself to the point where I'm still stuck. Like, to let things flow, let them out. Yeah. I don't know. I have to think on this further. Actually, I don't think I've been denying my vulnerability. I just think that I've been keeping myself busy and just trying to stay focused and just kind of using all that as an excuse for not just really sitting in the field and moving through that. So as much as I felt like the realm of cups was my wheelhouse, and I might get a little teary, but then I'm really quickly trying to like tamp it down. I don't think I'm really just letting myself sit and have a good cry about all this. And again, all I keep thinking is the only way out is through. Sitting with it, moving through it, to come out on this other side as this Queen of Swords has. I almost feel like this is encouraging in as healthy a way as I can manage. If it's striking me, just kind of going along with that descent so that I can rise back up into the air of the Queen of Swords and then find my clarity that way, and then get my energy back and get my fire back. And yeah, I'm very appreciative of these queens for guiding the way. And this one page that's snuck in there, my appreciation extends to Meg and Candy as well for bringing this spread to my attention. This was great, and I think it's going to be one that I continue to use to check in with myself every now and then. Probably not soon after this. I feel like these are prevailing energies, not just for today or this week or even this month. I feel like it's almost like at this stage of life. So it might be a few months before I check in again, because this just feels like one to really sit with for a good long time and definitely revisit. But thank you for sticking it out with me if you did. Thank you for making the space for me to be vulnerable publicly, which is not something I would ordinarily do, although I guess I've arguably done it in my writing. I have definitely poured some of that into my stories, but to do it this way as me, it feels good to just communicate it and just kind of let it out there. And yeah, this was a really worthwhile practice. And so I encourage anyone and everyone to do it, or a variation of it. Hope you all are well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.